Hey guys, welcome back to ArtosisCasts. Today we're going to be taking a look at Scan once again. I promised last one. Well, not the last one ever, but in a row here. But yeah, we're going to have Scan playing against Paralyze. Both these guys really looking to become ASL regulars. You know, both of them I've seen so many games of recently, really practicing very, very hard, which is, of course, always exciting to see. We're on Retro, which should favor Paralyze a little bit. I'm very excited to see what build Scan wants to do, because it's very hard to play more than 3 base here, and it's actually pretty hard to play 3 base here. So I'm guessing we're going to see something like a gasless expansion, but I'm not entirely sure. So excited to learn what Scan is going to be thinking is going to be absolutely the best in this situation. Anyways, I thank you guys for tuning in. Really appreciate everyone that has supported ArtosisCasts. Please do subscribe if you haven't done so yet. It is hugely appreciated as the channel does continue to grow. And yeah, we'll still, by the way, I know a lot of people, it's like kind of memeing in the chat because I did like a month of Flash games. Like, oh, where's Flash? Or, oh, I'm sick of Flash, or whatever it is. You know, Flashcasts will still be a part of the channel, of course, but right now, like, I love casting him, but right now I'm, like, excited to be casting some other players, right? We have ASL coming up, we have that PSL thing, that other Star League coming up, and I really want to be on top of, and have you guys also be on top of what all the players are looking at, like, so... Hopefully I'll be able to jump around and cast quite a few of them. Before last ASL season, I did find a few games with the help of Dude Nerd to cast of the players in, or Nerd Dude rather, to cast within the groups, right? Players that we're going to play against each other, and I hope to do that again once we end up seeing groups and everything as well. But yeah, anyways, you know, once they actually hit each other, I don't think. Once they see they're in each other's groups, they probably won't put out real games on the ladder against each other if they do hit. So, right now we have the cross-spawn scout by Paralyze, and he's going to see, okay, I'm against Factory Expand in a cross-spawn situation. I don't think that this is going to be any sort of forge play. He did put this pile on here, so there's like a possibility to do some sort of cannon, but I think you definitely go Cybernetic Score here. If you're cross-spawn, the rush is so weak, it takes so long, not only for the initial push to get down there, but for all the rallying units to get down there, that you can just be super, super, super level greedy, where you're making probes non-stop. You can, well, normally I feel like I almost always see one Zealot being made. Yeah, there it is. And then into the Dragoons, because you do need like one unit. If this is a very optimized factory timing, which, yes, it looks like it absolutely is, a Vulture will get down here, even cross-spawn, before the Dragoon is out. So sometimes what we see is like a pylon wall put up really quickly, and the Zealot just holds it and takes some damage while you wait for that Dragoon. The timing is very close, and we'll see if that's going to come into play. By the way, third depot. So this is actually very, very likely to be a bust. Might end up being a quick game. Oh, gosh. Oh, okay. I have to explain what's going on here for you guys. So this is the worst case scenario you could ever get. Okay, so here's what happened. The probe scouted cross-spawn to see how greedy Paralyze could be. Scan did the standard end scout, right? He scouted here, then he scouted cross, and then he saw he wasn't here, and then he was like, oh, shit. And he scouts down here. But when the probe gets to your base early, most of the time, and look, he actually gets that Dragoon out so quick. Gets one probe, and he, of course, did get the scouting probe as well and can't quite make it up the ramp, so he will lose that. But that's generally worth it. Okay, anyways, back to this. So, one way that you can play, like, if the probe gets there early, very oftentimes there's a Zealot on the way. And you actually have to decide about the third depot probably around the time that your SCV is around here, right? When you're doing the end scout. So you actually just don't know what's going on. Now, if you go for the 2 depot expansion, you'll start the command center before you see if there's a nexus here very often. And then you can't do a push. And if they're making a Zealot and you start that, and they come up with the Zealot, and you have 3 Marines, things can get out of hand, right? So there's a lot of different things to talk about in regards to that. But basically, by making that third depot, you can skip your bunker, make the extra marine. Your command center is a little bit slowed. It's not the end of the world, and you're going to be completely fine. Now, here, Scan found that it was a Nexus first. So it's like the slowest command center you can ever get versus the fastest Nexus you can ever get. So that's why I'm like, oh, no. And you can see he's down 10 workers. He's down 10 workers. That's gigantic. Taking a look at what we have strategically going on here, though, Scan is doing, I think, the best thing he could do in this very tough situation. Third base on location. Mines laid out to delay. Mines laid out to delay. Right? So he has some mines that are blocking the path towards his base, and some mines that are blocking, well, not only a different path towards his base, but an additional fast nexus. He wants that third nexus to be very slow in comparison to his command center so that he can catch up in those workers a little bit. We'll see if he's able to do that as some units just walk up through the mines here, and, ooh, he doesn't quite get it. Good try there from Scan. But he does get that Nexus down just as this command center is finishing. So yeah, what is it? It's like 5 or 6. It's between 5 and 6 workers can be made in the time it takes to build a Nexus or command center, right? So if all the production is perfect, Scan will close the gap into like -4 workers by the time that finishes. And then the thing is, by then we're going to be getting up into the area where it's like, okay, you know, mid-60s we stop anyways. So, armory on the way. He does have that engineering bay. Playing a little bit blind here, but that's kind of what you have to do. Up comes an observer, and he might actually lose this. This is a little bit sloppy. Ooh, that was a very quick reaction. Very nicely done. Saving that observer cannot be overstated on how nice that is. In the meantime, an observer out with these dragoons, helping him to clear some of the mines. Going to move a bit of his army over to this location. Of course, missile turret coming up and trying to be very safe, having everything defended. I love the little wall that he made as well. It's going to be the cheapest and most effective wall he can get up at the time. All right, Nexus is finishing. Let's take a look. What did I say? He'll get within 5 or 6 probes. So we're within 6 workers right now. Maybe it's 6.5. Yeah, it's going back and forth. So we're within about 6 workers of each other now. Scan has made up a little bit of the difference that occurred earlier on. So I think you got to give props to that. Excellent production from both sides. You can see they're both nailing everything, basically. Shuttle is out. Speed and Reaver on the way. And that's, of course, exactly what you expect to see from Paralyze. This is how he plays basically all the time. He loves Speed Shuttle. He'll go mass Reavers, and he'll make it very hard for Scan to hold on to everything. So a bunker going up, that is a really interesting bunker position. This bunker position is for anti-shuttle, right? It's not for things coming up the ramp. He's not really scared about that. This will buy him enough time to get his army from here down to here. This, though, I feel like he should probably move the tank like there-ish. I do like this idea very, very much. It just kind of adds some support, you know, against those incoming drops. Now, a 4th Nexus being made in the top left, and in fact, it looks like he's getting ready even for a 5th Nexus. Notice that right now, we're getting up to exactly the probe count he wants. 64, we're going up to 67 right now, and he'll probably stop after that. More gateways on the way. And by the way, this is something that you should really look at from pros. Oh, we do have the drop starting up. Hasn't really done anything yet, but we'll keep an eye on this. I'll talk about that other thing in a minute. So yeah, the Speed Shuttle just trying to cause some problems. I don't think he's expecting big damage or anything. He hit the turret, scan repaired, brings units up. Looks like he's okay. But does dive bomb over that missile turret. Takes a ton of damage on this shuttle. Drops that Reaver out and will bust this position. I don't think he's actually going to get anything done, though. Like, yeah, okay, he'll get the eBay, he got the tank. This is not really the end of the world. Okay, gets a pretty decent scarab off on that siege tank. Wow, very good micro on the Reaver. Doesn't get another one off there. But Scan is going to be fine all throughout this. Right? That's just, it's trading some units for some units. Not the end of the world. And let's take a look, right? 3, 6, 8. So I've talked recently about the fact that I think like 8-fact timings are coming back slightly. And we'll see about that in a moment. This is kind of a weird game. This doesn't really line up with the things I was talking about before too much because it was a Nexus first build that he's playing against. But yeah, taking a look, 71 probes. Oh yeah, what I was talking about before is you'll see when there's no counter for workers, right? So you just have to kind of feel it out, like how good has my worker production been? He might want 71 exactly, right? But notice that he stopped right in that kind of range. He stopped within 5 of what I feel like is the lowest amount that we ever see. And of course, you can actually go up into 70 plus probes against Terran. It is a doable thing. You just have to play it a little bit different. But yeah, it's just kind of an impressive thing that you can see because it's actually really hard to make yourself stop making workers once you get really good at making workers. And it's hard to figure out exactly how many you have. You can kind of drag select and take guesstimates, but generally it's a little bit more of a feel. But yeah, both of them basically nailing it. This is both these numbers really right within that range of workers that they want. So we have full economies on both sides. The 5th Nexus gets started, and of course, as always, when the 5th Nexus starts, Terran has to decide, am I expanding or am I attacking? A 9th factory has come up, and we don't actually see any starport, and we don't actually see any command center. I believe that Scan is going to try to do a timing attack here, and I don't know if it's going to be able to work. Now, this drop coming in, look, this is that anti-drop I was talking about before, doing a very good job adding in extra damage, extra anti-air damage, extra everything. Look at that. Pops that shuttle. And see, that all bought time. This stopped the drop from completely holding the ramp, and the wall stopped the attack from coming up. This setup is beautiful. What a beautiful setup. This allows the reinforcement to come up without any problem. I actually have some chills right now. This is something I'm going to have to add into my own play. This is excellent. What excellent, excellent, excellent placement. Damn, it actually... Because I was like, I don't know, would I put it here? Would I put it here? Would I consider up here because they bomb in this way? What this did was it blocked all the units here. So, like, this slowed down the ground attack. This made it so that the tanks could come up and save the day. Whereas if nothing's here, then the units here have to be killed first. They have high ground advantage, etc. Okay, anyways, here we go. Another engagement going down. Psi Storms hitting all over these siege tanks. Very, very brutal indeed. But he does get rid of basically all the Psi Storms and most of the shuttles. Scan trying to hit some sort of timing attack here. Doesn't really have anything else to speak of. He just finished his starport. He's starting the science facility. +1 armor is finishing up here for Scan. So, you know, he does have the potential of getting more upgrades, and he has a second armory on the way. So it's like, okay, yeah, we're going to start 2-2. But, for instance, like, if this attack he's doing, it's not like he's going to be able to fall back on 2-2 if it doesn't work, right? It has to work to a certain degree, and then the 2-2 will be like, okay, yeah, we're still in it. Obviously, if it kills him, and you're not really worrying about anything at all. But yeah, I think the world that I see like a positive in this game for Terran, because right now I'm looking at this and it does look better for Protoss, but the positive might be Scan like getting up to here. Maybe he can attack up to this area then and make another command center, right? While getting 2-2. If he can do all that, then it's like, okay, yeah, I can see this game going towards Terran. Okay, now in comes 5 shuttles. The Goliath's going to pick, well, they almost pick off 2, but they get all their units out. Tons of Zealots coming down on top of everything. Oh my god. That is a lot of units for Protoss running in. And the Zealots, there's still quite a few left alive here. I do think he's going to have to target some of these siege tanks to make sure he's not taking too much damage. No, does not actually have a Psi Storm there. And Paralyze will basically trade out his entire army. Just a handful of units do end up living. The supplies very, very close to each other. 3 add-on siege tanks, and then we have 6 factory Vulture. 2-2 has started. And he did actually do a little Vulture counterattack up here and forced to cancel the Nexus. This is just like a cannon that he picked off. And, you know, more cannons being made, some Dragoons popping out here as well. So, you know, Scan didn't make it out to here, but, you know, there was a pretty heavy attack from Paralyze that he cleaned. And now he's trying to push up here. Canceling that's a good start. Okay, command center coming up. That's nice to see. Wow, really nice drop up here. Very little anti-air to speak of. And you can just see the power that Paralyze possesses here. Very well done. You know, right now the Vulture's running up and going to go ahead and clear some of this out. It doesn't feel like Scan has a ton of staying power. So, like, he does have 3 factory siege tanks. The staying power would be like the scaling, I guess, is a better way that I normally say it. He has 7 siege tanks right now. You know, we're at 156 supply. That's very low. So that means a huge amount of his supply is in Vultures right now. And he actually does make a lot of Goliaths here as well, which you do kind of need. Continues to push up towards the top left. The problem is, by the time he kills this whole area will be developed. Right? So he needs to not only kill this, but he needs to expand all up here as well. And how does that work? Maybe he can expand here while killing this and then expand here. Like, it's so hard to cut Retro in half. It's incredibly, incredibly difficult. Looking back at Paralyze's base, he does have 2 forge upgrades going. An unfathomable amount of shuttles. This is basically more than a recall of supply can be brought in instantaneously. That is a lot of supply of army that he has within shuttles, though, just to mention. It'll be interesting to see how he utilizes that. Okay, 3 shuttles this way. Where's the other ones? They're all here? Okay. All right, the 3 shuttles jumping up, and Scan is just going to run out of here. He knows that he just doesn't have enough units to really stop this. So deals with that bunker. Dropship has come out for Scan, which I think is a very good choice. And Scan is clearing this whole top left, but he does not have the 4th base. So even though the supply still looks similar, look, he's losing his 3rd, no 4th, and like I said, if by the time you kill this off, all down here is going to be developed. So Paralyze just keeping this advantage that he's had all game long from that command center or that Nexus first. This was actually like excellently played by Paralyze in that way. Like, he really understands what he needs to do to keep the advantage, right? He pressured lightly with the Reaver, and then he, you know, he tries an attack here, doesn't really work, and then he like kind of jumps in and reduces siege tank count. His opponent's on 3 base, he goes to 5, and it just becomes a ridiculously hard game. Scan right now. Yeah, he's going to have to, like, float this command center or something, or float this one, I think. He might even want to float both as the minerals mine out. Like, maybe you start floating this one right now down to here, and as the minerals mine out here, float this one to the center. Because you have to have minimum 2 bases mining. Just anything less, and you literally can't produce out of your factories. So right now, Paralyze coming in. I love this idea from Scan. He dropped these 2 siege tanks down here with that dropship we were looking at before. He runs the vultures down, trying to support. It's just a huge army just gets attack moved in this direction and clears it for Scan. Or rather, for Paralyze. Okay, another command center. Kind of has a good setup here. The thing is, if you look at his defensive locations, okay? So he's got to defend here, and he's got to defend here. And then don't forget, drops can come in this way. Drops could come in this way. The army can rotate a little bit through here, although that's not a very good move. It's just very hard to defend everything that Scan needs to defend when he decides to expand towards the top left. Like, as Paralyze really nails his economy, he's going to be able to attack, move gigantic, gigantic forces through various areas, right? Like, send a maxed army through here. And then a maxed army through here. With dropping up here, of course. Right? That's going to be very hard. Right now, he's kind of spread. He's kind of clearing things, making sure everything's clean. Here comes the shuttles, maybe diving in through this area. Of course, not even mining in this area. Does send his SCVs over to this base and is taking this base. So there's some very good ideas for sure. Going to go ahead and fly over that missile turret. Does get by with everything. Drops out some of those zealots ahead of time. Just pure zealots in the main base. So not the hardest thing to clean up. Brings his vultures back and we'll be able to clear that. Does have his 2/2 upgrades with +3 on the way, which is, of course, very important. Oh, I don't know about the siege. Not sure how helpful that is. Yeah, I do have to give props to Paralyze because I think he's played the cross spawn Nexus first just almost to perfection here. You know, I talk a lot about how that is basically the strongest thing in the whole game. As far as openers go, it's the strongest thing that exists. Like, win rate-wise, it's unbelievable. And you can see that he's just been in complete control. The furthest out Scan ever got was here, right? Like, right around here. He sieged up. I mean, yeah, he kind of attacked this way by going like that, but as I mentioned, everything gets set up elsewhere. And, yeah, Paralyze just closes it out. He was absolutely in control this entire game. Yeah, that's just... It's a tough position. When they're cross-spawn and they get that Nexus first up, and especially when it's the greedy one and they scouted you first, which made you go into kind of a more defensive stance with 3 depots. Everything about it is just like another thing that's difficult to deal with. So, GG. Congrats to Paralyze for the victory, and we'll see you guys next time.